Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Midweek Fix. Andy's with us, as you know, because he's I don't know what he sounds like at this stage. Choking on a crayon or something, I don't know. But this is the Midweek Fix. It's the second week of this, and of course, this show will culminate, or will, be around Lincoln because we're playing tomorrow night. Of course, we'll have the Transfer Agenda show tomorrow night, and in that we'll have a small match reaction as well. With me, of course, is Andy, is Chris, and is Grizz. Grizz, how are you, my man?
I'm okay, mate. I'm okay,
good.
Absolutely.
Good stuff, good stuff.
Yeah.
And Chris, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate.
Good. We're walking you to the bone at the minute, but look, that's how things go. Andy, sitting there in his vapor kit, he wanted me to point that out. He said, make sure they know it's a vapor kit. Andy, how are you?
Yeah, good. None of that stitched on crest nonsense for me.
Okay. Jesus Christ, he's absolutely determined to get this in. If I'm wearing this jersey, you're all going to know about it. But lads, listen, the Carabao Cup Air campaign starts tomorrow. There's been loads of games tonight. We're away at Lincoln. In I think it's the 4th round, is it? It could be the 5th round. I don't know. But I want to start off with, we've looked at Liverpool over the last couple of years, and we've seen loads of players being thrown in there, loads of youngsters, fellas that have never played in the first team, fellas that might be up and coming in around the fringes. They get that chance and then they disappear, and it's a competition that Klopp doesn't really value. He's not doing press conferences about it. I don't know if he's going to turn up there tomorrow night. But Grace, I'll come to you first. Is there an argument now that, despite wanting to blood some youngsters or use fringe players, that the quality in the squad now, there's no real excuse for not having a go at this? A real go at
it? Yeah, I agree. And I think Pep Lijnders sort of alluded to that today in the press conference, where he said that, in effect, that's exactly what he said. He said, look, we've been building towards this kind of situation where we've got a squad where we can attack. They keep using that word, Klopp and him, we can attack all competitions. And I agree, there's no reason, there's no excuse. Possibly there's an excuse for, in terms of centre-back, situation, especially because we've got Matip and Gomez. I mean, as long as we've got sort of a healthy squad otherwise, there's no reason for not attacking this competition. I think he also alluded to that sort of, even without being prompted or asked, he said, you'll be surprised with the strength of the team, which is good, positive. I don't really rate the Carrier Bag Cup, whatever it's called. But on the other hand, I do miss a domestic trophy. I know we're champions of the world, champions of Europe, Premier League champions. Well, we're not champions of Europe anymore, but I do miss a domestic trophy. And I think the further we go, the more beneficial it is for the squad members, for the fringe players, for the young players. It's all about their education, their game time. We probably promised a lot of them game time, and this is their chance to shine. I think the strength in the squad, the competition in the squad, should mean that we put in decent performances in these games against sort of whoever we're playing in this cup, whatever it's called.
Andy, as I said at the start, we've seen loads of players come through. You've seen Chiravella playing a lot in the League Cup last year. Nico Williams, who of course has been promoted to the first team squad now. But likes of Van der Berg, a couple of others. Curtis Jones, of course, came through and he's been the first team squad now. But with the strength of the squad as it is, and I know there's players due to leave over the next, whatever it is, 2 weeks, is it, until the transfer window ends. I know there's people due to leave, but even if a couple leave, there's a lot of players there, Andy, that you could say, they're probably on the subs bench quite a bit for Liverpool. They mightn't even make the subs bench with the strength of the squad now, where you could put 7 or 8 players out there and be really strong, and then you're only looking for them to be on the bench come the weekend, the Premier League game. So I think you might be looking at this the squad with the most quality we've had in over the last since Klopp is here, and for that reason we should be going. Let's go deep in this. Let's go really deep. Let's not write it off. Would you go along with that, or do you still think just blood youngsters and see where they get? And because it's a shorter season, Andy. I get that, but it could be a real help to keep players fresh throughout the season, and I mean fresh for the first team rather than just players getting the odd chance and disappearing again.
That's a big question, Gav.
Sorry, Andy. Oh, sorry. Do you want me to say it again in the shorter version?
No,
I'm gonna have a go at it anyway.
Go on, have a go, Andy.
I absolutely do think this is a big opportunity to go deep in the competition and attack it, as being said. What we have now is an opportunity to play a mixed team of senior players and up-and-coming youngsters. Beforehand, with the lack of depth in the squad, we might have just seen basically 23s going out. So there's no benefit. They don't get experience really playing with senior players. Except this way, like, you're going to see players like Milner, Wijnaldum, you name it, kind of playing in alongside them. So whoever's not getting into that midfield, or, we've Jota now on the front three, we've Minamino. Like, these are senior players who are going to be blended in with the youngsters. So it'll give the youngsters a good opportunity to play with the more experienced players, and then it'll give us a better crack having a proper pop at the competition. The competition's been written off in recent years by Klopp because of other priorities. But now we have that bit more depth, and like Chris says, it would be nice to have a domestic trophy for the simple reason, once Wembley comes around, we all buy into it. Okay, it's not as glamorous having a third round for whatever match against Lincoln, but when it goes deeper into it, you might end up playing United on the way, or you might end up playing City in the final, and that's where we're going to get our kicks out of it.
Yeah, that is where we're going to get our kicks out, because as it gets towards the later stages, even if you have gone with youth or fringe players, you'll see more and more first team players being thrown in semi-final, two-legged semi-finals, although I think they're gone now. I think it's just a semi-final in a neutral venue because of the shortened schedule. But you're right, that's where you see more. That's when it gets serious and they go, there's actually a chance of winning here, and they start telling the fringe players it's not happening, and you get a first team players in. And
what I think is one of the biggest beauties of it is how Pep Linders gets to take these games.
Yeah, well,
I just see some of the quotes from him today. Like, he's incredible. Like, he has this aura about him. This kind of, he's a bit of a,
it's mesmerizing, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a bit of a philosopher as well as Klopp. They see things the same. So it's a joy to kind of get to see him in that sort of view. And Klopp having that sort of leadership to step aside and enable people like Linders to take, which is effectively, the first team when you have so many players hopefully included. So I'm excited about that as well.
There's a comment there saying we have Arsenal straight up if we beat Lincoln. Have we been drawn with Arsenal in the League Cup? Has that happened? Yeah. Okay, home or away? Home to Arsenal. Okay. Yeah. And is that next week?
What difference does that make now?
What's that, sorry?
Well,
home or away?
I don't know. Just wanted to know.
I still think it makes a slight difference.
Do you think so? Do you think so?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Traveling, familiarity. Home ground is a home ground. It still makes a slight difference. Obviously, not the usual difference. But is it just for the next round, Chris, or is it sort of planned out the whole?
No, I think it's just the next round, Drew. So if we get past Lincoln, we've got Arsenal twice in a week.
So we play. Would we play Arsenal this Monday night, and then
we play Wednesday or Thursday?
Oh, so 3-4 days later.
Yeah.
Okay, because Gareth Downey says there Arsenal Monday and possibly Thursday next week. Okay, so Chris, same question to you. Is it something that you use and you go have a right go at it? As Andy said, you get to Wembley and your priorities kind of change a bit and you look to win this, or is it something where you go, no, just keep blooding the lads in and everything goes on the Premier League and Champions League? Or, as somebody mentioned there, and it's very interesting, about the FA Cup is probably, the only domestic trophy you want to win. Do you wait until that comes around and start going, keep people fresh? What way do we play this? Because I think there's too many good players here not to have a go at this. I really do.
I think we go probably the strongest we've gone for the League Cup for a while, especially this early in the season. I think a lot of our players need minutes. With Andy so hopes he thought that. But yeah, I think a lot of our players need minutes. Simicast has not played yet. Milner's had hardly any minutes. Jota needs his debut. Minamino needs minutes. So these are all like good players supporting him. This is not like a few years ago where we were relying on Nabil El-Zar and David Ngog to get us through a game. So I think we have a go, but I just don't think Klopp will risk any senior injury. So if someone's carrying a niggle, they're never going to get picked for the League Cup. I think we'll know how seriously he's taking it when we see who the centre-back pairing is. Because one of Fabinho or Van Dijk, in my opinion, will have to play.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. And we're going to, towards the end of the show, we'll have a look at possible lineups and, score predictions and stuff. We'll leave that at the end. There's a couple of bits we want to talk about. But overall, I think you feel that we just have to wait and see. But there is an opportunity there to play players that are on the fringes and stuff like that. And it brings me on nicely to the squad itself, because I think it was Sean, he said to us, myself the other day, and he said, Gav, try pick your best 11. And then pick 7 subs, and then see who's left out. And it got me thinking. And Grizz, as I said earlier, there's going to be players that leave the club. Like we're going to get on to Harry Wilson and Grujic and a few more in a few minutes. But even at that, Grizz, if you name your best 11 and then name 7 subs, you're probably going to have to rotate out 2 or 3 players every week that aren't going to make this squad, aren't you?
Beautiful. I mean, that's what Klopp, Edwards have been trying to work towards, a squad that enables us to sort of be in this position where we can. We often talk about sort of squad strength, depth of other teams, but I've said it, I think we're as strong as anyone. I really do. I mean, so often we always talk about the having 2 players in each position, and we've genuinely got that in every position except goalkeeper. My views on Adrian, but everywhere else on the pitch we've got sufficient depth, sufficient deputy in every position to be very comfortable. And that's what the beauty of this squad building is. We've been done slowly but surely every season, and this is sort of without buying for one window, wasn't it? We bought no one in one window, yet we still come to this sort of stage where we've got able deputies everywhere you look. I mean, Jota gets into most Premier League teams and he's probably our 4th, 5th forward now, right? Minamino, what a find he was, playing top level football in Salzburg Champions League experience, everything. Everywhere looks at the midfield. I think every journalist has reminded us of the strength we have in midfield. And we've added to that with Thiago as well. How many of them were saying we need to get rid of a midfielder, there's too many in there, etc., etc. The only position, some may say, there's a slight weakness, not according to me, as me and you've discussed very passionately the other day. I think I'll say it again, I think we have the best 4 centre-backs in the Premier League. I mean, someone show me 4 better centre-backs than us in depth and strength and depth than us, and that bodes well. That bodes well. We can actually field 2 teams equally as good as each other, possibly with some very good subs as well, as you said. Yeah,
it's I think it's. I was gonna ask you to name your best 11 and then try name 7 subs, and we see who's left out. I might come back around. That's what I was
doing right there.
Was it? Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna leave you for a minute then, because Chris, before Andy gives us the big news, and he makes a statement. He's told us he's about to make a statement.
No, I have it done. It's not that difficult.
Okay. Well, we'll see now in a second, because I think we might have a couple of disagreements on it. But Chris, for you, is it a juggling act for Klopp? Because we're talking about these cup competitions, and he might look as a benefit to go, there's 3 lads missing out every week here in a squad. Let's use them, and let's use more players in the cup to keep them going, keep them fresh. He's going to have a little bit of a juggling act, I think, this season. Do you?
It's a nice problem to have. I would say this is the deepest squad we've had since 2000, 2001. That was the last time I thought we had a squad with actual depth. And we know how that season ended. It was a very successful season. I don't think we've had any level of squad depth like that since then. So this is great. I mean, look, this is what Ferguson used to always have. He used to have players where he'd say, like, don't worry, I've got a game for you in October, I've got a game for you in November. That's probably what Klopp's going to be saying to your Chamberlains, your Joneses. Don't worry, I've got games for you. It's just not now. They also hopefully gives us the option of, if someone like a Genie's brilliant at the moment, but then he has a dip in November, December, you can send him on holiday for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, take him out the fire line, and you're dropping in a Katie, you're dropping in a Thiago, and you're going, there's no real drop in quality. The only area I know me and Grizz disagreed on it is centre half. Not in terms of quality, in terms of availability. Out of those 4 centre halves, you can probably rely on 3 most of the time. But when we need the 4th one, which is Matip, again, this is the game Matip should be playing in, and again, Matip is injured and missing. So we're looking down the route of, is it a Cometio or is it Sepp Vandenberg? That's the only area of the pitch I think we're a little bit light, not in quality, I think in terms of availability.
Okay. Rames Khalil has put in a super chat there with regards to Kabak from Schalke, isn't it? We will get on to him in a couple of minutes. I will put that up on the screen when we get to it. Andy, give us your best 11 and 7 subs there for the crack, and we'll see who's left out.
Well, can I tell you who? Can I do it in reverse, and I'll tell you who's probably left out?
Okay.
So, like, for the first time in forever, Milner probably doesn't make the 18.
Okay.
And then after that, you might be looking at Jones not making it.
Wow.
And you might look at, I suppose, after that it's Williams and Elliott. So there's kind of 3 or 4 players that would feel a little bit disappointed being left out of that. And I think a squad, a season can probably facilitate 3 or 4 with injuries, whether it's suspension, whether there's just resting, illness. We're probably going to have players with suspected COVID throughout the season. So
injury, suspensions,
yeah. So it's not too bad. So I'm looking at the 11 here, and yeah, you could change. A lot of people now are starting to side with playing Fabinho as a centre back. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't go that far just yet. To say that he is our first choice. I know he's had a good debate about it on Sunday night.
Good debate last night as well.
Yeah, well, and talking about the type of game, maybe if you're playing City away, you might play Fabinho there, for instance. But anyway, let's just bang away with the 11. So obviously most of it picks itself. Alisson a goal, Trent right back, Robbo left back, Virgil van Dijk. I still say Gomez. If Gomez is on form and he's fit and he's at his best, he's going to play centre back. And then in the midfield, Henderson's never going to be left out of that team. Thiago's going to wedge his way in there. You don't buy a 29-year-old who's one of the best in the world in his position, and he doesn't make your first 11. And then it's a squeeze. Fabinho or Wijnaldum. Kate is starting to be favoured by Klopp, but I'm going to go with a midfield of Hendo, Thiago, and Gini.
Okay.
And then Salah, Mane, Firmino.
So the key here is though, regardless of what 11 you pick, it's the 7 you put on the bench.
It's who's left out, really. You know what I mean? That's what I think. That's what essentially I think it's. If everyone was fit, available, ready to go,
on form,
you're gonna have some disappointed boys, and like, Jones is banging on that door. Milner obviously expects to be involved. I always want them involved, and then you've got Williams who's starting to feel part of the first team squad, and and Elliott maybe. I mean, I can't really think of anyone else. I'm just looking at the team.
So if you have that team, would I be right in saying your bench would be Adrian?
Yeah.
Tsimikas,
Matip,
Naby, Fabinho, yeah,
Jota, and Minamino.
Ox.
Okay.
So Chamberlain's.
I forgot about
left
Ox. So if Ox does get fit, he's left out of the 18.
Who did you
So
drop out the subs? Oh, he's left out of the 18.
Yeah, so you'd have Ox left out, you'd have Curtis Jones left out, you'd have James Milner left out. You could argue if Origi stays, you're leaving him out of his 18 as the only kind of centre forward, really.
Good point.
This is, you know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be Nico Williams, of course, is left out. Even though we've seen his foot.
Brewster, if he was to stay.
Well, Brewster won't be there, but that's fine. But I know you're getting to a stage where you will have injuries, suspensions. You may have someone that goes down with COVID. That happened to Tsimikas a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. But all things being fair, you know, you're looking at 3-4 players there that feel they should be in the squad. Do you get what I'm saying? So it is a bit of a juggling act. Now, we haven't mentioned we touched on Origi, but we haven't mentioned them in a serious sense of being in that squad. We haven't mentioned Grujic. We haven't mentioned Harry Wilson. We haven't mentioned Carragher, of course, which won't be mentioned. Shaqiri isn't mentioned.
Fucking Shaqiri.
Yeah. So now they could be. That makes a more of a stronger point for them to be leaving the club, because even if they leave, you're still looking at 18 players in a matchday squad and 4 lads that are going fucking mad because they're not in it. So this brings me back, and Grizz, the reason this brings me back is I know we're going to have suspensions and injuries, that's fine. But this brings me back to making the most of cups, because at any stage you might need Curtis Jones, James Milner, Nico Williams. You know, we haven't mentioned Harvey Elliott in that one either. But at any stage you could need those 3 or 4 players to be ready to go, particularly midfielders. You know, anything can happen. You've seen Henderson. So reading or listening to that, Grizz, does that bring you back and say, oh, do you know what? Them cups might be a nice little buffer throughout the season.
This is it. But this is the beauty and sort of the smartness of how we operate. That we've foreseen that there will be games fixtures every 3 days until January, Chris, for sure, isn't it? So or is it throughout the season?
I think it's definitely heavy until January. I don't know if they say it eases up in January, but if you're in Europe, you're still in Europe, it probably doesn't. Exactly.
So, for example, we often the accusations obviously sometimes labelled that, or it was previously, that we always struggle during the Christmas and New Year period, and it's learned. FSG have learned, and this is why I keep drumming the FSG about how smart, in conjunction with Edwards and Klopp, how smart they are. They're always learning, they're always evolving, and they've brought us to a point where we've just rattled off how many names, Andy? 11, 8, about 20 names that all could sort of justify
20,
being called
20 to 22. I would have said,
and they could all justify being called first team members. Let's not get it twisted, and that's very realistic. All could be justified as being called first team members, depending on sort of your opinion, who should start, whatever. Yeah. And so this is the smartness and the foresight that these owners, this recruitment team, this Klopp has, and it's a brilliant position to be on. It also comes with, as you said, Gav, the added pressure of we have to give it a go now. We haven't got an excuse to sort of put out under 23 squads, you know.
There's just a huge first team squad there. Always good. Reckons that Andy's been sniffing the vapour off the Vapor kit. I don't know how, because he's just reading out names. But I think it might be down to the midfield he picked, but that's absolutely fair.
What was the comment there?
He feels you've been sniffing the vapour off the Vapor kit.
What, does he not agree with me? Team
I'd say it was probably down to the midfield choice. Because that's
so we're always going to get that.
But it doesn't. But you see, the point of that exercise wasn't to give us your favorite team. The point was picking 11, and anyone that misses out, that might be a bit 50-50, goes into the subs, and then you're just pushing people down the line.
I'm going to say it. The only one you could have a doubt over is Wijnaldum or Fabinho.
Yeah, most probably.
Because Keita to me is clear for choice, if you know what I mean. It's just He hasn't. He
Yeah,
hasn't
but
done it.
Andy, but this adds to what we wanted and we talked about in terms of unpredictability.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't know what the team's going to be, or sort of sometimes Klopp may not know what team he's going to pick for a certain game, how the F are the opposition going to try to work it out? Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and how many times have we seen teams sort of set up against us knowing we're going to play 4-3-3, just stop the fullbacks. The three midfielders are going to be Gini, Henderson, Fabinho, you know, and bog standard. Look, they're going to be bog standard in midfield. Let them have the ball, let them pass sideways, but make sure we double up on the two wide men and the two fullbacks. Well, now if they do that and give, like you've put Thiago in your best midfield, I agree with you. Now, if you give Thiago the best man in the best creative player in the world football, the freedom of the center of the park, you're fucked there as well. It's unpredictability, you know.
Yeah.
Even if Fabinho plays at centre back, one of our centre backs being so brilliant and comfortable on the ball, stepping into midfield, allowing one of the centre mid. Did you notice? I don't know if you guys noticed. Gini played further forward in that second half as soon as Thiago came on. Another weapon, you know, in our armory.
Yeah.
He's definitely holding Gini, wasn't he?
Yeah, LF says, as Pep said, Pep Linders, I presume she's talking about, said we play every 3 days till the January break. We'll need everyone in that squad. There will be injuries. That's a very fair point.
That's an excellent point.
No, it is. It's an excellent point, and you will need to rotate. But let's be honest about it. You know, if you go with Andy's 11 or you throw Fabinho in there instead of Wijnaldum, it doesn't matter. The chances are 7 to 8 of them are going to be playing nearly every game. So there is rotation, but the rotation usually happens in 3 or 4 players in the team. The 8 are constant, and this is why I just keep going back to these cups and saying, yeah, just do something, be a little bit stronger in them, and a little bit more brave with your selections, I suppose. Because I know the Premier League is there, I know the Champions League is only around the corner, but in saying that, you want to, they can train as much as they want, but the likes of them League Cup games could be really beneficial. And of course the FA Cup, and I think that still starts in the new year, and you know that's when the business end comes. If you're still in the Champions League, you got through the group stages. So it's just a thing in my head that was there today, because Shawnee was going on about who'll be left out of the squad, and if they're out there, is there a way to fucking keep them interested and match fit, I suppose, you know?
Can I just make a point there across my mind on Naby Keita? So we're playing a game every 3 days till January, and you're going to see different players coming in and out of the team. But generally, Klopp was going to want the system to stay pretty much consistent. And if you notice Keita's game, we've never really seen the Leipzig Keita. What's Klopp going to do with Naby? What is he going to change him? Is he going to reinvent him like he has a lot of the players? Is he going to have him playing maybe a more conservative role in midfield? You know, our midfield doesn't really do what Keita did for Leipzig. They don't necessarily break the lines. They're all hard working in there, and even Thiago doesn't break a sweat, but he makes the ball work hard. Do you know what I mean? The midfield generally has to do the same job typically from game to game if you're going to have any sort of consistency. I mean, what does that mean from Keita? What sort of midfield player can he become if he's not the one that's sort of linking up with the attackers?
Well, for me, I look at it and I think, you know, the functional word always comes up, Andy, with this midfield, and it's a very fair one because you have Fabinho in there. Like traditionally, we look at Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson, first choice, right? And that's absolutely fine. And what I'd be looking for from Fabinho is he sniffs out things, he blocks things, he intercepts, he's a good range of passing. Don't get me wrong, but he's very good protection, because you need that when your fullbacks are fucking wingers. You need that. It's, you know, no matter how good a team you are, when you look at the likes of Henderson and Wijnaldum, their first job for me in the team is they're allowing Mane and Robertson on the left if it's Gini, and they're allowing Salah and Trent on the right if it's Henderson, to go and be creative and break lines and, you know, create. But they're in the spot behind them where they go, listen, you can go, I'll look after things. And don't get me wrong, when they lose the ball, they work very hard to get back, but you always need a line of defence there. We're going to have to change the way we play, Andy, because when you have Keita and Thiago now added into that midfield, and even Oxlade-Chamberlain and Curtis Jones, who are creative players that look to go forward. The first thing is, I'm not saying they don't work for the team, but the first thing is to look to create and break lines, or, you know, play intricate passes, or, you know, open up the play. We're going to have to change the way we play, Andy. It's as simple as that. You know, I'm not saying Keita wouldn't work hard. I'm not saying Thiago wouldn't work hard, but the two of them predominantly want to look forward and influence the game going forward. Whereas Wijnaldum and Henderson, although they can influence things, their main thing is they're always watching. They're always watching for that little inside right and inside left spot all the time. So, but having said that, there's so many different opposition we're going to come up against that changing the team and rotating, like people have said, is definitely the way to go. And the more weapons you have, the better. But I think
just to add to that, and what Andy said, you and Andy touched upon Naby. He has changed his game a lot, Andy. In terms of, me and Gav again had a passionate debate, I think a couple of weeks ago or something, in terms of where I thought his best position is and where sort of others think his best position is. I agree with you. If we play the 4-3-3 and you're looking to play sort of either Thiago deepest or let's just say Hendo deepest, it's just not... The function, the role of the 8 in a Klopp team is totally different to a conventional 8. You know, it's so different to the eyes, because how often do we see Keita in the box? Now, Keita at Leipzig was a box-to-box midfielder, Andy, in a 2.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to not change for him, but I think we're going to change for the sake of Liverpool Football Club in terms of evolve. And that is why Thiago has been brought in. I truly think we're going to play a lot of this 4-2-3-1, Andy.
I agree.
Which gives a total different role to Keita. It will be his preferred role alongside, let's say, Thiago, or alongside whoever. I think our coaches have thought long and hard about this in terms of not being as predictable as before, because, you know, a lot of other clubs, fans or media and pundits were saying, Liverpool being found out. You know, they're slightly static in midfield. Well, now, good luck trying to work us out.
Do you know this formation conversation, 4-2-3-1? It's just exploded. It's the fashionable thing to talk about Liverpool converting to a 4-2-3-1. It grates on me, actually. Strangely enough, you know, how is a 4-2-3-1 system going to change Liverpool so dramatically when we attack for 90% of games? I honestly don't get it. 4-2-3-1 is, if you're going to expect,
it saves your full back legs.
Sorry,
the idea of the 4-2-3-1 is to go a bit more through the middle. So we're supposed to. I think the idea is it might rest Robbo and Endo's legs, so they don't have to be as attacking. For that to work, you need a bit more of a creative spark in the middle, which is possibly a Keita, possibly Thiago. That's maybe the idea. That's how I. But
that would sort of say that, you know, your team is going to sit in, be a bit more compact. Trent's all of us going to suddenly become a defender and not a winger, and Robbo. Similar to a lesser extent, Trent definitely spends a bit more time attacking than Robbo. I don't know.
Andy, do you know what it is? Do you know sometimes there was games where Robertson didn't play or Trent didn't play?
Yeah.
And how often was it labelled, we're not the same without a Robbo playing or a Trent playing? So for argument's sake, if Nico plays, then we have to change the dynamic of our midfield. I know what you mean. This 4-2-3-1, where does it just suddenly pop from? I get what you mean. I don't necessarily mean just 4-2-3-1. I just mean a slight tweak in formation, whether it be 4-1. Do you know what I mean? Forget the numbers. I'm just talking about sort of the dynamic of midfield will change, you know, very often, because we're not going to play Robertson every single 3 days. We're not going to play Trent every 3 days. Yeah. So therefore, we have to work other ways of attacking teams, and this could be one.
There's on Conway throwing a comment in there. It gives you an extra attacker on the pitch, and your mad thing. Explain that to me. We attack, and the only players who sit back are our centre backs. We've
No,
a
do you know-
goalkeeper that stands in 90% of games between his goal and the halfway line.
Go on, Gav, you go
We
first.
couldn't have more bodies forward.
I've got an opinion as well on this.
I'll tell you the way I see it, like, and it goes back to the midfield again, because I don't see under any circumstances where we decide that we're going to play 4-2-3-1 or whatever it might be and try curb what Robertson and Trent do, especially in conjunction with Mane and Salah, right? And I've spoken already about how Henderson and Wijnaldum do jobs on either side of a defensive midfielder. I think we are going to commit more players forward, Andy. And what I mean by that is, instead of Fabinho being deep and the two lads looking to fill holes, I think he's just going to put the responsibility on two lads in the middle of the park to say, listen, them fullbacks are gone, and in order to break down a low block, people think you need a brilliant passer of the ball, and they've said Thiago, and I've nothing against that. You need numbers, and the reason you need numbers is because no matter how good of a passer of a ball you are, if you don't have enough numbers to occupy people, they can set themselves out. Where if you have an extra man in there making runs for no fucking reason, just making runs, he takes people away. So what I think is going to happen is I think Klopp is going to entrust two players in the midfield in certain games. Don't get me wrong. And listen, he could play 4-3-3, Andy, to start, and just 4-2-3-1 when we have it, 4-3-3 when we don't. He could do something like that in a standard game. But I know where you're coming from, that we attack a lot of the time. What I think will happen is he'll end up with his two centre-backs. He'll entrust two fellas in the middle of the park to say, listen, it's up to you two. If this comes out, it's up to you too, because I'm throwing that extra man in the mix with Firmino in the box. And these lads are walking down the side. Because if you watch Liverpool an awful lot, you know, you will have the lads down sides walking. But when you look in the box, there's probably Firmino in there, and there might be a Wijnaldum. One of them might commit and Henderson might stay, or Henderson might go. What he's going to do here is he's going to go, listen, I'm actually getting this fella to be in the box all the fucking time, and that's where I think it's coming from. I don't think it's an actual visual thing of looking at the pitch going, that's where they start. I think it's just a case of what you're going to commit and the responsibilities you're going to give the people behind. And instead of it being two lads with a fella deeper, he's just going to put two slightly deeper, not that deep, but two will be looking to do the job of three. That's the way I see it.
I also think it suits, and I haven't got any sort of, we can't have any evidence of it because we haven't tried it, and we're just sort of just started the season. But I do know sort of the histories of where Thiago and Naby have played for most of their careers, and successfully. And they've played the majority of their careers in a 2 in midfield. Now, I'm not saying we're changing the way Liverpool are playing just for Thiago and Naby Keita. Right, I'm clear. I'm not saying that before people say, "Oh, well, you know, we've done very well without them." I get that, but what I mean is, when you purchase someone and you're so adamant and you chase that person and you're ready to pay whatever for him, and you know he is the player he is, even though he's the most beautiful, creative player in the world, and this is it's not a criticism of him. It might come across as a criticism of him, but I don't think, Andy, that. And Gav as well, I don't think we're going to play Thiago as the deepest lying midfielder on his own in many games. That's my thinking. That's why I think we will have someone alongside him. I know we played against Chelsea, but it was 10 men. That's my only thinking.
I think the part of this as well is looking to get Salah in front of goal. And what I mean by that is I could see him going in with a Thiago. Look, pick two players, Thiago and Henderson, just for argument's sake, Fabinho and Wijnaldum. It doesn't matter. I could see him going in with that. I could see him going with, I could see him putting Salah up top with Firmino behind as the one in the middle of the three, Mane on the left, and that's why he's probably looking at the Jota coming in. He's not dead Jota. Why did I say that? But yeah, that's why you're looking at Jota, and that's why there's still links to Sarr. I think he may look to get Mo Salah in front of goal and Firmino off him, and you know Mane can stay where he is, and you have another wide attacker.
Without purchasing a Bobby replacement, do you remember we had the conversation about who can be a Bobby replacement?
We can refresh Bobby Firmino in what he does.
Absolutely. Again, I think we've sort of we're trying to solve the problem internally, and I think that's what will happen, as you said. With the option of Salah going through the middle, it will put pressure on Bobby. And also Bobby is very comfortable playing in that 3 behind the 1. So I think we're trying to
in front
reinvent.
of the 2.
Yeah. You know,
I must admit, before we signed Jota, I did wonder if Klopp at some point, with the amount of midfielders he's bought, would try and just play over two up front, a way of protecting the front three, and also to get rid of this issue that we keep saying is, or when Bobby doesn't play, Liverpool don't click, or when one of the front three doesn't work, we always still Origi on the left wing and it doesn't click. So rather than trying to reinvent the wheel of making them play 4-3-3, I always wondered whether at one point he may just try and stick Salah and Mane up front of two and flood the midfield with a Minamino, behind him, in a bit of a diamond, just something a bit different. They probably aren't going to do that now because they bought Jota, so clearly he still wants to go with that way. But I do wonder I don't think he's trying to create a new Bobby. I think they've got to try and find a way of playing without Bobby, because at some point Bobby's going to get injured or he is going to play every game, and we can't keep using the same excuse of we're never the same when Bobby doesn't play, or we're never the same when Salah doesn't play. Like United away, we said as soon as United away was, well, it doesn't work for Origi on the left wing, and we need to change the whole midfield. That for one player being injured, so maybe there's a workaround.
I think Jota's going to push Bobby hard.
Do you?
Yeah.
I have a feeling he plays quite a bit if we change system slightly. People are asking there why would Klopp change system? It's not because he feels he needs to. I think it's just another weapon to have, the kind of way. But you feel that he's going to push him hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's so good at he can play across the front three and he can pick the ball up deep. His energy, his ability to press, I think he's a model for giving a dig out in midfield, picking up the ball and carrying it on like none of our midfielders really do. And obviously that gives Salah and Mane the opportunity to come in more central, and Trent and Robert to do what they do. So I think he's ideal. Like he's certainly not your traditional 9. He's not going to be a poacher. He's not going to be playing on the shoulder of the attacker or the defender. So I think he could do Bobby's job, and he could probably have a more of an output in terms of goals and assists.
Well, it's goals
and
maybe,
slightly disagree.
assists.
And if he listen, this is not one of Bobby's biggest fans, but it's the first time he's probably had a bit of competition. Liverpool have invested heavily in Jota, and I don't think it's just to give Salah or Mane a rest. Like them two boys are machines. Klopp doesn't seem to look at them and think they haven't got legs.
Yeah. Edward Denham asks Gav what happens to Minamino if Jota gets some serious game time. This is where I think Minamino comes into his own in this change of formation, because you might want to play Bobby in that 10, but you could play Minamino there. You could play Minamino off the left. There's no issue for me. Off the left, off the right, I'm not so sure. But listen, I'm gonna move on. I want to have a little talk about possible ins and outs, because it's still doing the rounds, and then we get on to Lincoln and line-up predictions and score predictions. So Ramiz Khalil said ages ago, he says this: apparently Fabrizio Romano said we'll be going for Kabak towards the end of the window after some outgoings. What do you think? Love the show, lads. Thanks, Ramiz. Thanks a million for that comment. Chris, I'm going to come to you. Do you see a centre-back being a priority now with all the talk around Fabinho? And he mentions possible outgoings there. Who do you expect to leave? I know you discussed it last night, but who do you expect to leave? And do you see any incomings?
I think we might try and get one more in. If it was me, I thought it would be a centre-back, but I'm leaning towards we might get another attacker in. And I think Klopp is this. I'm getting the impression Klopp will take the risk with Fabinho and more Matip's injury record, because perhaps if he wants a centre-back, he can't get till next summer, whoever that is. In terms of outgoings, you'd expect like Carragher to go, Phillips to go, Grujic, Brewster, Wilson. I think they're all pretty much gone. Shaqiri, I think Origi will go as well. So I think if you get rid of Brewster and Origi, it wouldn't surprise me if they try and bring somebody else in up top. Yeah.
Andy, for you, there's been debate on this show and other shows, I presume, across Liverpool, the world of Liverpool and YouTube around Fabinho, and regardless of where you play him or who you favour him over, do you see a centre half being being looked at this summer, or do you think he? No, I think he will go with Fabinho as his backup if needed. And on top of that, who do you see leaving, and do you see anybody coming in?
Okay, loads of questions again. I think
you have to keep up, Andy.
Fabinho's certainly more than capable to play as the, let's say, fourth choice centre back. It's how often fourth choice becomes fucking first choice with Liverpool is the problem to partner Van Dijk. With the amount of games that Gomez and Matip are likely to miss. I just think with Ronaldo staying for another year and is bringing in an extra midfielder who expects games to keep everyone happy and keep everyone playing, it's probably more likely that he does stick with Fabinho as an option for centre-back. And then when Ronaldo leaves next summer, which is probably inevitable to happen at this stage, then Fabinho moves back into midfield, and then we buy a centre-back, and it gives us an extra kind of 12 months to identify that player, to whatever, move the money around and do a deal for someone else. But I think with Klopp, if the right player does become available and we're being linked with a few centre-halves, then I think he just does the business then, and he tells them, it's going to take you time to get in, learn the system, learn what it's all about here. I think we'd be fine either way. In terms of, players going out, I think we all know there's 5 or 6 players who, if an offer comes in for, they're gone the following day. But if they don't go, as we expected Lovren to go at one stage, we expected Lallana to leave, and they all Klopp brought them back in and gave them games and got them part of the squad again. So, whoever doesn't leave, I think Klopp is going to make a place for them anyway with so many games.
Yeah, I can see them being, if they can't get them out on a permanent deal, I can see a lot of loans going on, and with obligations to buy or letting it run another year and getting rid of them. But you have to factor in, I suppose, all this COVID stuff, and we're still not getting into stadiums, and it doesn't look like it'll happen anytime in 2020. So there's money being lost everywhere. But listen, Edwards is a fucking, I don't know how he does it. But so if anyone can, he can. Grizz, Brewster, Harry Wilson, Grujic, Karius, they're probably the 4 names that are kind of mentioned most with regards to outgoings, probably because they're most value. Shaqiri is being mentioned there as well. What do you reckon happens with them 4 or 5 players?
You're right. This news about sort of no fans in the stadium until January at the earliest, or something like that, was it?
Yeah, I think it'll be. Yeah, I think you're looking at 2021. Yeah,
I think it makes clubs really think even harder of what to do. I think it's a pain in the bug. It's a very serious situation anyway, but it's a pain in the bug for sort of trying to plan ahead and see what we can do. I think it's just outgoings for now, in my opinion. I think it's just I know you saying that we may accept loans. I just can't see us accepting loans at the moment. I just can't see it. I think
we called on Grujic and Karius.
Yeah, I think we'll accept cash bids. Personally, it's the last option in terms of sort of accepting a loan for any of those players that you've mentioned. There's 5-6 players there that could easily raise 70 million for us there. Without break us I think we'd be in sort of profit, won't we, for the summer? Including
we're paying Bayern about £8 a month exactly. for Thiago, and I think we're paying £4 a month for Jota.
But let's not forget, sort of, we will have to set up payment plans. The structure of transfers going out would be of similar ilk. So, I know people get carried away with the business Edwards done. Well, every other club has a sporting director that will try to sort of get the best deal as well.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So, look, in terms of forget them, shambles. But in terms of outgoings, it's the usual suspects. I've said there's always one shock. There's always one sort of player that you didn't expect to be linked away. We're at that stage, Gav, where I know Andy says that we sort of often talked about Lovren and Lallana going out and they stayed. Well, I think we're just operating at a total different level now. I think we're showing a ruthless side that I certainly wanted at the start of the window. If you remember, do you remember we talked about that word, ruthless? We've got to be ruthless in the market, and I think we've shown it. I think we're still going to show it. I wouldn't listen to the journalists saying no more, and that's us done, and that's us done. We know what the journalists know and what they've been told this summer. But for now, I think it's just all concentration on outgoings, and then, like I think Andy said, we assess the situation right near the end, and then if the bargain comes up, and if sort of, because I know we've still got inquiries out for players, and we're smashing businessmen. FSG are the best businessmen you ever find, and so they will wait and bide their time, and when a club becomes desperate or in need, which many clubs will, unfortunately, as the case may be for these clubs, a lot of them will be stuck financially and looking sort of for players to leave so they can get that extra £5-10 million in, whatever it is. That's when I think we may strike. But at the moment, it's just all about sort of getting these bids in, which we have, and letting these players go, and that's it. Sort of see where we are in about 5-6 days again.
Your mate Roy K says Grizz is looking a lot leaner. Dropped the meal plan, gym routine. Grizz, he's looking great, isn't he?
Keto.
He's doing great. He's on Andy's diet because he's looking to get into one of those vapor shorts by the time we're allowed back into stadiums. But I think there's another signing in us. I have listen, I have no information behind this, but I have a feeling that Liverpool will look to move Shaqiri, Grujic, Karius, Wilson, and there's one other there, isn't there? I'm definitely forgetting. Brewster. And I think he'll go in for another attacking player. I genuinely do. I like Andy's theory, and I think it's one that maybe Grizz and Keith, a couple of lads over the last couple of shows have said as well and agreed on, that they do use Fabinho as the backup centre half when needed, and he's there. And in 12 months' time, we go and we sign, or we're looking, or we something's in the pipeline for a centre half to come in, releases Fabinho out of that, emergency position when needed. And I think if there was one to come in, I think it might be a forward player. I think it's needed. I don't get me wrong, I like the front three are brilliant. Minamino, Jota, brilliant. But I think one more might work.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm going to put it out there, I wouldn't be surprised if we look at an incoming attacker on loan with an obligation to buy.
Oh, you're talking about Ousmane Dembele.
No.
Ousmane Dembele is going around. Sarr is obviously the link came out of French football yesterday, and the lads spoke about it last night. But I still think there's one in us. I genuinely do. But we'll have to wait and see. We will develop, and I think we get a clearer picture once the Brewster situation's up, because it was a farce the other day with Crystal Palace's owner having a go at Sky Sports, and now Burnley apparently are close to agreeing a deal for Harry Wilson. The Brewster stuff was up in the air. Grujic, the last link was Borussia Mönchengladbach. Karius, nothing's being heard of. Shaqiri, just nothing said about him, whether it's about playing football or staying or going at Liverpool. He just seems to wander around and no one pays any attention to him. So it's one of those.
I think tomorrow will give away. If Shaqiri's not in tomorrow's squad, then I think that's because he's fit now. Yeah, I mean, he's fit,
that's
he's
fair
training.
enough. Yeah.
If he's not tomorrow, then we know that's a given. That is off.
We're going to get onto the Lincoln lineups and predictions now before we finish up, and a few people have said, I think it might be Dave Malik. It might have been Dave Malik. I don't want to misquote the fella. Is saying that it looks like Van der Berg and Williams will start tomorrow. So that's what he's saying. But Andy, I'm going to come to you first. What side are you playing tomorrow against Lincoln, and what would your score prediction be? Now that's only two questions. Don't have it going.
That's fine. Adrian, Williams, Van der Berg. I mean, I don't know. You need to. If you're going to play a kid at centre back, you do need to kind of play someone beside him. So I don't think it's going to be Billy the Kid. So let's let's say Fabinho plays there. Tsimikas, midfield, Milner, Jones, and Ronaldo.
Okay.
Jota has to play. Minamino has to play. And then that leaves one spot. Elliot. I would like to see Elliot playing.
Okay. What's your score prediction, Andy?
7-0 to Liverpool.
Ah, right. Okay. As you do. Chris, what are you going with? Who's Reece Williams? Someone's saying Reece Williams here. Is there Reece Williams due to start tomorrow?
No. Who's Reece Williams? No, there's no Reece Williams. There's Nico Williams.
No, people keep saying Reece Williams too. He might be an under-23 player. But anyway, go on. Chris, what's your starting 11?
Well, I was going to say Billy the Kid starts with Fabinho, but it sounds like Van der Berg.
No, he's not fit. He's not fit.
Oh, so it's Van der Berg then, which is Billy with dread. So the back, I think the back line.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Reece Williams is a centre back from the under 23s.
Okay. Be a very young midfield. Well, I'll go with Williams, Van der Berg, Fabinho, Tsimikas, Milner, Jones. I think Thiago might get 45 minutes just to get some more fitness in his legs, and then go with Minamino, Elliot, and Jota.
Okay. Grizz, what are you going with?
I'm going to go for Nico Williams, right back. I'm going to go for the under 23 centre back that just everyone's informed this. No.
You're a fucking joke. You know that.
So Reece.
You're just going to pick a fella you only heard about.
I did know of him.
Lying bastard.
I've just been refreshed. My memory's been refreshed. Just like my timeline.
Your spoofy's been refreshed.
So, well,
your spoofy senses.
Okay, let me be honest. I thought it was going to be Phillips. I thought it was going to be Phillips and Vandenberg.
Fair show.
So I'll go with my original.
I thought he was there.
I do. I'll go with what I thought was going to start. So I thought it was going to be Nico Williams, Nat Phillips, that gingerbread kid, and
Vandenberg.
Tsimikas left back. Midfield's going to be Milner, Curtis Jones, and Fabinho, and then up front's going to be Jota, Minamino, Origi.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he'll play. Yeah.
Will he? Yeah.
We all heard of him at least.
Flash Gordon says Grizz words 30 seconds ago. Reece Williams. There is no Reece Williams.
And
then he says, "Oh no, I'll go with that fella Reece Williams. 100% to play him."
Yeah. You know him, Mini Van Dijk.
That's brilliant. If Reece Williams has been called up from the under 23s. Do you know what I mean?
Listen,
I got
my 11.
You expect me to be surprised?
My 11.
He's the neck of a jockey's bollocks.
My 11 is
amazing trust in players. Klopp has.
My 11. I would go Adrian. I would go Nico Williams. I would go. Now, there's a lot of reports over this young lad and Van der Berg. I'd go Joe Gomez. I think Joe Gomez was very close to playing against Chelsea.
Though.
Well, is he definitely not fit? Because of the talk was he was okay.
I read the thing saying Matthew Gomez
not fit.
But
if he's not fit, he won't play, Gav.
You never know. Footballers are never 100% fit. Right, I would have went with Joe Gomez, but he's fit, so Reece Williams is in. No. Do you know what? I think he will go Van der Berg. And I would have went along with a couple of lads there. I would have put a Fabinho in there or something beside him. But listen, I've no problem if he puts two young centre halves in. Tsimikas left back, Milner, Jones.
Naby. I think Naby will start instead of Fabinho.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he plays against Arsenal.
You get a point for that. He came off 60 minutes.
Go on. I'll have Keita in with Jones and Milner, and I'll go with Minamino, Jota, Elliot. That's the 11 I go with. Woo! Sorry, Chris.
It's going to be a Origi though, isn't it?
Well, it wouldn't be for me, but but you never know. Madak also says that Thiago starts, so you never look. It could be all over the bleeding place. Chris, score prediction.
4-2 Liverpool.
4-2 Liverpool. Nice one, I like that. Grizz, score prediction.
It depends on the quality of the pitch. Now, I've discussed this with you before as well. It depends on the size of the pitch and the quality of the pitch.
I haven't got the measurements.
Does anybody know what the state of Lincoln City's
Lincoln play at Sincil Bank, don't they?
Apparently it's
Go on,
quite
Chris,
long
give me some
grass,
insight.
It's quite long grass, quite muddy. It's perfect for Reece Williams. It's the sort of pitch he likes. So sorted.
Really? Okay.
I've no idea.
I would say, considering the season's only fucking a week over.
What league do they play?
League 1 or 2. But considering the league's only a week old, the pitch would be fine.
The pitch will be fine, yeah?
Yeah.
Then I'm looking at a 3-0 victory.
Okay. 3-0, 4-2, 7-0. I'll have Liverpool by 2-1. I don't think we ever really. Yeah. I think I'll go 2-1. I think there's enough youth in that team to concede, but we just about get through. And it doesn't, it's one of those where you just take the win and walk away. Straight to penalties, of course, if it's a draw after 90 minutes. Anything else before we go, lads? Andy, anything else before we go?
Yeah, no, I did read the pitch tomorrow was going to be good to soft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. The ground is fair to good to soft.
Yeah, I'm just actually reading up those horse track terms.
And what did you do? You just looked for one near Lincoln and said, the grass is all the same up there.
Yeah. It could be going good or good to soft. Is what they're saying.
Okay.
Well, in Lincoln.
Good to soft, I think, suits us. I think it all depends on the length of the grass. So if they're out with the lawnmowers in the morning, if you're going past Sincil Bank in the morning, you see them cutting the grass, lump on Liverpool.
If they had fences, it would be pretty shit, but there's no fences.
Yeah, I think if they cut the grass, we're in. We're all good.
Did you notice how much Chelsea fucking drowned it there the half they were attacking?
Yeah, loads of teams do that now.
I know loads of teams. We do it all the time, but
Snaky fucks.
They drowned it because I think the pundits were sitting down that end and it just looked like they flooded the kip.
Yeah,
and
then, loads of teams do that now.
Early in the second half, didn't Robbo send one of their players for a hot dog?
Yeah, because he was slipped. Because he
slipped. He literally slipped in a puddle. He aquaplaned.
Yeah. He did. He just aquaplaned. Pair of armbands on him when he came back into shot. Grizz, anything else before we go?
No, I'm good with good to soft because the state of after my dental surgery, I'm looking at good to soft.
Okay.
So I'm okay with good to soft. I'm going to have a plate of rice now with good to soft.
What was your favourite track to run on, B Grizz?
Whoa, asking
would you
me
prefer,
about horse racing.
No, yourself. If you ran around, good to soft.
Yeah. I'm a big
fella. The legs.
That's it. I've got strong legs, so good to soft would suit me. I can sort of pump away. The lighter you are, I think.
Sounds wrong on so many levels.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to
the lighter the ground. Sorry, the lighter you are, the firmer the ground you prefer, right?
Oh God, Chris is going into physics here. This is going to be amazing.
Is that right, Chris?
It depends. What runners you wear? Like, what's your favorite pair of runners?
Do you reckon tomorrow now, instead of kilometers ran, they'd be measured in furlongs ran and stuff like that? Milner ranked 7 furlongs during that game. It'll be unbelievable. The fact Grizz said I like soft, good to soft, and I just pump away is just blowing my mind. I think we should leave it there.
She's a lucky woman.
That's been the midweek fix.
Gav,
yeah.
One question. Have you won your bet? Because didn't you say
yes.
Thiago and Wijnaldum would play in the same team this season?
I did.
Sorry, Andy.
I think Gav knows what the bet is.
Right, what do you reckon the bet is before we go, Andy?
So I made the point.
Take your time to make this up now.
I said that I was basically making the point that Thiago wouldn't sign for Liverpool if Wijnaldum extended his contract. So we won't really know till he extends his contract or not extend. But I'll tell you what, I'll pay the bet anyway. But it's more about the principle.
Well, I should hope you do because you lost.
My point still stands.
He's gone full Kevin Keegan here, look.
He got the tenner and everything.
I wouldn't pay that bet. Look, I was on that show. I'm neutral. I was on that show.
Grace, you know the point I was making.
No, he doesn't.
But it's not going to be working for you. Because
I said,
the end result of that bet was, I know there was a lot of small imprint, but the end of the day, the bet was Gav, and I think Gav had the final word. He said, Thiago doesn't depend on Gini.
Yeah, I said we signed Thiago.
And Andy said, well, Gav, I'm telling you, they won't be playing in the same team.
Yes, and I said Thiago and Wijnaldum would be.
There's a lot of lawyers in them comments.
Chris, am I right?
I'll
tell you what I'll do. There's enough people here in this chat that watch that show, that watch all the time. If people let me know between now and I don't know, Friday night show, and they can decide who is Andy right, is he wrong?
Only I know the point I was making.
Well, of course you do, because you were the one that said it. Everyone else was very confused. I was very straightforward. Thiago would sign for Liverpool, and Gino Wijnaldum would remain there.
I think Andy's trying to get away with it on the technical floor of signing a contract. That wasn't part of the bet.
Yeah, that's fair.
Signing of a contract.
Screaming.
My child is having a breakdown.
He's really upset about this bet.
I think what he's shouting is pay the money.
I'll pay the money, but it's not for Gav. It's for charity. So we're going to pay the money anyway, as I always do with charity. I'm very charitable. But the point I was making is that we weren't going to buy an extra midfielder with Wijnaldum sign a new contract, and I don't think Wijnaldum's going to sign a new contract.
Well, look, I don't, Andy. You can dig another hole as much as you want. I'm just trying to think of the charity you would hate most, and then I'm going to make
you're playing with the comments now. Oh yeah.
Listen, I have to go. My child's having a breakdown, right? I have to go. That has been the midweek fix. Tomorrow we will be live on Instagram before and after the game. Plus, we will have the transfer agenda. So we'll probably be live on Insta on one thing and live on YouTube on another at the same time. But that's just the way it goes. The way the night has fallen. Friday, we will have the Friday forecast. Off on Saturday, back on Sunday for the Fat Back 4. That has been your midweek fix. Sorry, I keep getting that wrong. I keep going to say weekday for some reason. But it's been great. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks to Andy, thanks to Grizz, thanks to Chris, and thanks to everybody for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. Over and out.